designers with responsible jewelry businesses. Gem Atlas is an online B2B networking platform for the gems and jewelry industry. We help you connect with businesses all over the world, and you can easily start generating new business leads through our platform. We are honored to have this discussion today, and our topic is sustainability and gold, sourcing from responsible, artisanal, and small scale mining. There will be a question and answer session after the presentation. The button is below, so please feel free to enter your questions and have them answered after. Over to you, Jonathan.
Hi. Hi, Nicole. Thank you so much.
Hi.
Hi, thank you so much for this introduction. So I am going to share screens right now. If you will be so kind to let me know if it's available for everyone to see. All right, yeah, I see it. So once again, thank you so much. It is a pleasure to be here and an honor. Greetings from the beautiful Medellin, Colombia. And thank you so much for to all the team of Gem Atlas. So as Nicole said, I am a member of the Alliance for Responsible Mining. We'll be talking a lot about Fairmined and the Fairmined initiative, actually, which is something that the Alliance for Responsible Mining created. So that is a topic that we're going to talk about today, sustainability, which is a really important topic for the jewelry industry, and I think that all the industries right now should be learning more about it because it's not just a trend and it's not something that consumers are asking, but it is actually something that we'll need to adopt if we care about our future and the future of our planet and our society. So you may have heard of Fairmined before. So just a clarification, Fairmined, it is not an organization per se. It is a standard and a certification or an assurance label created by the Alliance for Responsible Mining, which is a nonprofit that started 15 years ago or so here in Colombia with the purpose of supporting artisanal and small-scale mining communities for them to adopt best practices to do their economic activity in the best way possible, caring about the environment and caring about their own health and caring about their own local communities. So so it is not realistic just to tell these communities that have been dedicating to this for a long time to do something else. The realistic thing to do is actually to support them into adopting best practices. We are not talking about a big scale, we're talking about groups of families that dedicate to this. So I'd like to start with a very simple question, but actually it may be complex to answer in some context. And it's very straightforward. Do you know where does your gold come from, or your materials, the silver, platinum, whatever you use? And sometimes it may be as simple as saying, or you may be thinking, well, yeah, from the refinery, or from the shop, from the same place that I have been sourcing my gold for a long time now. What do you mean, Jonathan? And what I mean is let's think about origin, and not only a geographic location, not only where, but also what were the conditions when that extraction happened. So if we're talking about the origin of a precious metal or a precious gem, we are definitely talking about mining and extraction. So where in the world was that extraction, but also under what conditions? So were the miners safe? Was that a legal activity? Was that an activity that was creating development for that specific location? So now we're talking about the impact of that activity. Was that doing a good or a bad impact at that a specific place. So you may answer that question to yourselves if you want to share on the chat, if you want to write it down. So this is the question that will guide our conversation today. So when we think about, okay, let's talk about origin, but origin, good origin, a responsible origin. There's definitely a trend out there in which we start saying a lot of concepts, and they've been floating around a lot when we have this type of conversation in the industry. So, okay, I am a business, I have a company, and I know people are caring more about the planet and the society. So that means that I have to become responsible, that I have to become sustainable, that I have to become ethic, and yeah, and these are concepts that are being mentioned more and more, but we should learn what that is, because if you want to take a step towards getting there, if you're not there already, and if you are, congratulations, then we need to understand what that is, because that will need some claims to the public. And if you claim to the public that you are X or Y, responsible, sustainable, etc., then you need to understand what does that mean and to educate your consumer on that. So, well, I'm definitely not a philosopher and not an expert on defining words, but in an attempt to do that, here we have like the main ones that are being that are buzzing right now in the industry. So there's responsibility. What does that mean? Well, it's the state or fact of being accountable. Accountable of what? Of your decisions, of what you do every single day. So are you able to be held accountable of the consequences of what you do? And that means your day-to-day activities, but that could also mean the activities of your business or the activities of your provider and everyone on your supply chain. Now, when we're talking about sustainability, the definition we'd like to use is actually the UN's definition of sustainable development, with their and our goals for sustainable development, or sustainable development goals, SDGs, that look for using the resources we have now as a generation without endangering the resources of future generations, under three cores, or three main elements. The environmental impact, so of course thinking about the planet and the world we live in. The economic impact, so we live in a world in which economy is really important, and it is essential for development. So how communities are part or not of a sustainable economic system. And of course, social impact. So thinking about the people and their health and their culture, and how they could thrive as communities, and we can all thrive as a society. So when we're saying that we're sustainable, or that we're making a sustainable impact, we really need to think of these three cores and all together. And when we're talking about ethics and are we ethical or not, well, a lot may say, and it is true, that we all have our own ethics, we all have our principles or values. So in a general way, it is whatever guides our behavior and conduct, so whatever guides our decisions. So we all as individuals have our own values and principles, and I'm sure all of you do. And also your companies and brands, they have principles and values that share to the public, and when we are coherent, then those decisions that we make every day are based on those values. So it is important to know what is it that I believe in, and according to that, what is it that I am going to do in terms of the materials I am going to use, the gems I am going to use, the gold, the silver, etc., and how I am going to claim it. So this is not only for you as companies, as if you're in the jewelry industry or providers of the jewelry industry, manufacturers, that should also be applicable at the mining communities or organizations or whatever mining is happening. So yes, we need to talk about mining and as an activity, mining of all materials. Our organization has been focusing a lot of gold mining because it's starting in Colombia, and the gold mines are a pretty big deal here, but also the emeralds mining or other precious stones or other materials. But regardless of whatever that is that we are mining, there are different scales, right? So of course we have the large scale and medium scale mining, and here we're talking about these very big pits in the ground, and it happens a lot of big corporations coming to developing countries to make all of these extractions, and under what conditions we'll hear of that. But there's also the artisanal and small scale mining way of doing it, and this is our focus. And as I said before, we're talking about communities, we're talking about groups of families that traditionally, historically, have been dedicating to this, because it happens that where they live, they can find the gold in the river, in the mountains. So should we tell them to do something else because this is a bad material, because this is a bad activity? That's not realistic, mainly in countries where central governments are not quite there all the time supporting these. So what should we do to support them? Well, to give them all the tools and all the necessary resources to transform this activity into something for good, into something for their development. Sadly, this has been associated with a lot of bad issues. So we know there's illegality and informality, and sometimes it happens that, okay, mining gold at an artisanal and small scale is illegal mining. That's how we tend to call it, illegal mining. But it could be done legally and in a formal way if we support these communities. This has been associated, of course, to poor health and safety of workers. So we've all seen these pictures of children on a mine right there without a helmet or without security equipment. We've all seen that, and that happens. So how should we transform that? Transform the fact that sometimes they use mercury or chemicals in a responsible way, that there is no gender equality, and sadly, very, very sadly, there's still child labor in some of these mines. However, this activity still represents 90% of the workforce behind the gold extraction, the artisanal mining, is responsible for 10% of global production of gold, and around 20 millions of gold miners worldwide depend on this activity. How should we support them, and at the end of the day, translate that into what you create within the jewelry industry? So the Alliance for Responsible Mining created the Fairmined standard. This was many years ago, and it actually started working together with the Fair Trade organization that I'm sure all of you are familiar. And now the Fairmined standard is on their second version. It is a broad document, and you all can have access to that. And it pretty much says what is it that a mining community, artisanal and small scale community, can what is it that they have to adopt, or the requirements and everything that is going to be audited by a third party auditor in order to get to the highest standard, which for us is Fairmined. So this is in a nutshell what it is. So it's a big component of organizational development. So these are groups of families that have been doing this very informally, but then with this standard, they have to organize somehow and create an association, a corporation, an organization, or something that can be registered before their national law. And with that, then they become formal and they can have better trade relationships, and their mining operation would be 100% legal, and we can guarantee a minimum price for them. Then we also have a component of the environmental protection, of course. So I'm sure you've heard that to extract gold, they use a lot of chemicals such as mercury and cyanide. So the mining communities that receive this standard, they need to have a reduction plan, a chemical reduction plan. And in most of the cases, they were able to extract gold with no chemicals at all, or with no mercury. So, and when they still use it, if they have to, then they know how to, and they know how to dispose of the waste, and they know how to cover themselves so it wouldn't affect their health. And the stories of these mining organizations are great, and I will share those in a bit. There's also a social development component in which we say that, of course, there's no child labor at the mining site. They look for gender equality, and they need to create projects in which they have to think how to involve the women in their community. So sometimes it happens naturally that there are women that are miners, which is great. And sometimes they could also support other activities around the mining community, supported by the mining organization certified. And also we have the work conditions section, which is respecting their workers, the workers' right to organize, or ensure stable jobs and healthy, safe environment. So things that we take for granted sometimes, as wear a helmet, wear gloves, wear, well, now with COVID, wear a mask. And if they adopt best practices and if they adopt standards, then they need to comply with that, transforming this activity into something that could be positive. So the reason why we do this is to transform mining, artisanal small-scale mining, into an active force for good, for to ensure social development and to protect the environment, rather than all of these negative things that we just saw. How can we transform that into a force for sustainable development? The way we do it, or how we do it, is to support them into certifying or getting the certification of the Fairmined standard, awarding them with a Fairmined premium. So if they obtain the standard, then they can get a premium that they can invest in their own community programs or in their own development, and connecting them with the international gold market, which pretty much means all of you that are listening right now. So at the end, what we deliver to, for example, the jewelry industry, is a flexible way, or a way to have access to gold that has been extracted with this story. And this is gold that we call gold to be proud of, certified, and with a positive story. Now, when we talk about sustainability, and then when we talk about all of this responsible way of doing things, yes, there is the trend, or the fact that in the jewelry industry there is the recycled gold. So what happens to recycled gold in a context in which we're talking about responsible mining? What if I am using recycled gold, and then I am claiming or saying that because of that I am responsible, I am sustainable, or I am ethical? So it happens, and it is okay, and recycled gold is not bad. I come here to talk about gold from this kind of origin, but that doesn't mean that we antagonize recycled gold, because all efforts towards sustainability are good. So when you're thinking about recycled gold as a sustainable thing to do, then I invite you to think about the origin. So, okay, what's the origin of recycled gold? Can you point where does that come from? From what mining operation? From what conditions? Or what impact did that generate? Or even more simple, recycled from what? Is it recycled gold from old jewelry, which has also beautiful stories of old jewelry that was worn by our ancestors, etc. That is great, and if we don't use the gold, then they will be sitting there. Or is it coming from the financial industry, or is it coming from illegal operations? Is there a way to know? And sometimes the best way for us to know is that, yeah, my refinery is certified, that they do everything in the best way possible. That's amazing. Again, where does that gold come from? Anyways, and with the recycled concept, we think of that as a sustainable, responsible thing, which is great because when we recycle paper, when we recycle plastic, if we don't do it, then it will go to waste. Who wastes gold? We've been recycling gold for a long time now, so no one just throws gold away. So it is actually usual and normal to recycle gold, even if it comes from responsible mining operations. So when a brand says, okay, I am 100% using recycled gold, then what is it that you are not saying in terms of the origin? So again, let's think about the concepts of responsibility, sustainability, and ethics. Mainly sustainability, if it comes with an environmental impact, social and economic impact, and this is impact that we can make on mining communities that are working a lot to do this in the best way possible and to get a standard and to get certified, then are we making an impact on them or not? So when a brand says, I am using 100% recycled gold, therefore I am 100% sustainable and I am the best of the best, we are curious about that and would like to challenge that thought because, again, what is the impact you're making in the communities? And sadly, then you will be disengaging completely from these realities and to support them. However, I understand that saying 100%, using 100% gold from this type of communities, it's hard. I know this is a business and there's money involved, and it's not always as as simple as we would like to. However, it could be a goal that you want to achieve. This is a progressive work. This is something that we can do step by step. So it is okay if it's not 100% of the goal you use coming from these realities. And I was attending a couple of weeks ago the JCK event in Las Vegas. And when we were talking about sustainability there, a phrase was mentioned. It said, well, perfect is the enemy of good. So sometimes when we think like, okay, we need to be 100% perfect and then transform all of our operations into the most green, sustainable, responsible thing, then, well, sometimes that makes us not ready to start, like never. So we can start in a progressive way with the percentages you want. So yeah, keep using recycled gold. It is there. So just be aware of what claims you're going to associate to that. If you're using recycled gold, then you're saying that you're the best of the best, or you're just saying that it's recycled gold from an X source. And be careful about what you say about it. Same thing when you use gold from a mining operation, and hopefully a responsible mining operation. What claims can you make about that? Are you responsible? Are you sustainable? Is that certified by a third party certification label or audit? And that is possible. And there are stories of other businesses or brands that have been able to balance and to combine these two approaches. So with that, then we're not only talking about responsibility, sustainability, and ethics. I'd like to bring another concept to the table, which is transparency. So how transparent you are with your consumers or with your clients about the gold or the silver or the platinum or whatever material, even with the gems, of course. How transparent you are about the story or what has been happening before you get that into your hands. So again, why this? Why encouraging you to have at least one portion of your production with uh, gold that you can certify it came from a responsible mining operation? It's because we want to transform this activity into a force for good, into development for these communities. And I'll be sharing stories in a bit about how does that happen. But then you can start with a collection, with a capsule collection, with just series of pieces made with gold with this story, and still using other type of materials for the rest of your lines, because this is a progressive effort. So at this point, you'll be wondering, okay, yes, but how does this work, or how do I get this type of gold that you're saying is the best of the best? So right now, being part of the Fairmined initiative, then I can show to you how the Fairmined supply chain works, meaning how you can get material to gold from artisanal and small-scale mining communities that have received this standard and this certification, and that you have this third-party audit label to substantiate those claims. So there's the mining organizations that receive the certification. There's also suppliers that receive an authorization or a permit to trade this type of gold. And then we have the brands. Well, we have as an example, not that we own them, of course not. So your brands can obtain a license to use this type of gold and to make claims about it. And the beauty of it is that if you are within the initiative, then you have to report those transactions within our assurance system, Fairmined Connect, and that way we monitor the traceability of the gold all the way down to the mining organization. Before talking to you about what are the mines that are certified, I'd like to ask the team of Gem Atlas and Nicole maybe to, there's a survey and there's some questions for me to ask to you. Usually when you want to source this type of gold, what is the main challenge? What is the main challenge for you if you want to have access to this type of material? But then maybe you need more education on that. Maybe you don't know who provides it. Maybe you think it's too expensive, or you don't even know if it's going to make a business case or your clients won't be interested. So it will be so kind to select an option there. Also up here. All right. Nicole, I hope you let me know when enough people voted.
Yeah, I think we can continue. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So perfect. So it says, all right, this is something very balanced. So actually 27% of people said that they need more education on that. The same percentage said that they don't know who provides it, or same percentage, they think it's too expensive, which could also mean that they need more education or support into how to make this not expensive. And just a few people said, not sure if clients will be interested. And that's good to know that actually the list of the people said that they will insure. So the rest of you, the clients will be interested about that. So that's definitely a trend, which is great. And this is very insightful. Thank you so much for everyone who voted. So to support you into how to get education on that and how to know how to get access to this gold, who can provide me of this, then let's talk about the supply chain. So right now, the certified mining organizations, there are 2 in Colombia and 3 in Peru, with great stories that I can just like share very quickly. So then we have, for example, the Chede mine here in Colombia, in Cauca. Thanks to the fact that they are certified with the Fairmined standard, then they transform their production into something they did whenever they wanted to. Like, it was something that didn't have a plan, that didn't have a schedule, to something super organized, to something super efficient and productive. And that's because they forced themselves into getting more and more and more standards and to be organized. And also now they're able to extract gold without mercury. Also last year, because of COVID, they had to stop the operations, but thanks to the Fairmined premium, then they were able to keep paying the salaries to the miners or supporting them financially during those hard times. So those are great stories. For example, the one at Iquira Agro Mining Cooperative here at Huila, Colombia. And this is beautiful because they also do agriculture and they also plant coffee and plantains and all of these great Colombian products. So for them, it is important not to endanger the environment, but they also do mining. So how to do it in a way that it wouldn't affect their the agriculture activities. So this is great. They're also able to extract without mercury. And something really interesting is that thanks to the premium, they were able to pave the roads, to build and maintain the roads of their municipality. So because they are super far away from central government and sometimes forgotten by them, but thanks to the fact that they were able to create roads and yeah, for a better traffic in their municipalities, then that is sustainable development for that community. Some other stories real quick, like Secomib in Puno, Peru, and finally they were able to create to build proper offices and a proper camp, so the miners will stay there instead of just like walking a lot to go back to their villages. Then we have Oro Puno, which they have the Eco Gold certification, so they don't use mercury, but they also don't use cyanide, or they are certified that they are able to sustain that that mercury and cyanide-free type of production. Or, for example, Cruz Pata in Puno, Peru, which is owned by a family that they were almost forced to do things illegally, but they said like, no, we are going to do this in the most legal, sustainable way, even if the other mines surrounding the area are not certified. I am becoming certified. So these are great stories, and again, that they transform this activity into something good. So if you want to learn more about this, of course, this the website of fairmined.org, and we just released the Fairmined Premium Report. So what is it that they did with the premium they obtained because of the fact of being Fairmined certified? So you can always ask us for that, or you can also go to our website and under the impact page, go to see the stories of these mines. And of course, we have a YouTube channel. There are great videos about these realities. You can find us as Alliance for Responsible Mining. So it's clear about the mining organizations. Yes, they get the certification, they get a Fairmined premium. How much is that premium? So does that mean that the Fairmined gold is a bit more expensive? It actually is, but it is paid by the authorized suppliers. So who are these people? The authorized suppliers are the ones that get the gold from the mine and transform it into materials for the jewelry industry, for example. So we're talking about the refineries, or also the ones that transform the refined gold into casting grain, sheets, wire, whatever you will need. And there is a list of suppliers in Asia, Europe, North America, South America, and you can have access to those suppliers, ask them for how much will be the gold, the quantities, the costs, etc., because they're authorized to do that, and then you will be entering the supply chain. The ones that source directly from the mining organization certified, they pay a Fairmined premium of $4 per gram of gold, or $6 if they are ecological gold certified, which means no chemicals at all. And this is the premium that they invest in their communities, but this is not paid by the jewelry brand. This is paid by the ones that source directly from the mine. So the first buyers, you would say. Of course, it is normal if they will add that into the final pricing. So that's why my invitation is that you learn who are the Fairmined authorized suppliers, and I will let you know in a bit how to have access to this list, and ask for a quote or quantities and prices to them, and then you will see how will that fit into your business model, and we can support you into sharing how this gold that is usually a bit more expensive can actually be fit into your business model if you if you make a creation that is like a premium product, for example. There are some market researches that say that if a consumer, if a customer learns about the story behind the gold, if they learn about the issues they're supporting, then they'll be willing to pay a little bit more for the jewelry, for the final creation. And this is something that comes with an emotional value as well, the jewelry in this case. So when it comes with a story of origin, responsible origin, then that is something that we can play with the prices a little bit. So in Europe, we have like, the refineries, like the ones in Switzerland that you may all know, but also the ones that plate gold, plate with Fairmined gold. So this is also for gold plating. And there's also supplier in South America that provides that plating solution. So if you don't do solid gold, but also plating, then there's also an option of doing that. And these are providers also of the casting services or the of the grain. There are also similar providers in North America and South America. And this is not here, and I'm so sorry about that, but in Asia, then we have mainly Derewala in India, and they offer the casting services in Fairmined gold. But again, this is all in this list that we can provide to you, just if you write to us and ask for it. So again, then we know the origin of this gold. We know that there's a list of authorized suppliers, and they can supply the casting grain or the casting service or even the plating solution. What else? Then we have the brands. So the designers, the creators of these beautiful jewelry pieces that they can make them with Fairmined gold and claim to the public that this gold comes from this story. How to get a license? Well, it is as simple as sending an email to info@fairmined.org, and you just mention like, okay, I want to use this type of gold, and then you will receive all of the next steps, some guidelines for Fairmined licensed brands. So what is it that this entails? So then we will explain to you that you will need a license, that the license costs $60 a year, just 60 American dollars every year, because we know that the actual expensive thing is the gold and the materials for you. That you will have to log into our assurance system to report whenever you buy the gold, and that you will get marketing support from us, that you will get constant support from us in terms of reporting on audits and how to communicate to the public. So that way you will have a license, you will have a Fairmined ID, and with that you can start becoming a part of this supply chain. So again, my final invitation for you is to let's think about responsibility, sustainability, and ethics, and whatever you're doing right now, or whatever you're planning to do in the future, how does that fit into these concepts, and what claims you're going to make around that. And our invitation is that if you think about sustainability, then you think about an impact under these three cores. Environmental impact, of course, but also on society, on communities that depend on this to make a living, and that they know and are learning every day how to do this in the best way possible, and work so hard to get certified, um, in order to have sustainable development for their communities, for their countries, and for their societies. So that means that they need some economic impact and incentive, and this is possible. So our invitation is to get into the Fairmined initiative. With this, I want to thank you. Thank you so much. This is the email again where you can write us. This is my email as well, or you can always find us on LinkedIn and start a conversation there. I'm going, I guess I can stop sharing screens and maybe start with some Q&A, right, Nicole?
Yes, we have a few questions coming in, so I think you can start answering them.
Of course. So Stuart Cole says, what about setting up a cooperative? Do you mean that for the mining communities, or for the jewelry, or the jewelry? Because when we talk about cooperatives, then it's like, yes, how we can work together. And that has happened, and it's there are great stories. So the Alliance for Responsible Mining, we don't only work with the Fairmined certified mining communities, of course, there are other communities that are looking to become certified. So we work with them as well in different levels of or stages of sustainability. And sometimes that's the best way to go. Like if they are informal, independent groups of families, they sometimes the first step is like, let's create a cooperative, let's create an association. And that way, you can start becoming formalized. And that's something that really works, at least in context here in Latin America, Colombia, Peru, for example. There's another one. So I am a jeweler in Italy and would like to start a line in recycled gold jewelry. How do I source this gold? Well, actually, I wouldn't be able to say who can provide you recycled gold because, as I said, with the Fairmined initiative, works with gold that comes from the mining communities that have certified with the Fairmined standard, meaning gold that is ethically mined and that comes with the story of origin. So if you want to know how to source the gold, Fairmined certified gold from these responsible mining communities, I invite you to write to this email, info@fairmined.org, and request for the list of suppliers. In Italy, actually, there's one of, really love them. They're called Altro Carato, and they are in Milano. Marty G says, even if it is recycled gold that is used, it is still gold that has already been mined, correct? Why shouldn't we use that only first, as mining also creates a lot of carbon emissions? Yeah, so again, with the carbon emissions, that is right. And sometimes, again, these mining communities that I'm talking to you about, they are in geographic locations where actually they're just, the gold is there, and I am going to mine it, even if I am emitting carbon or not. They are not worried about carbon emissions, sadly. They're worried about how to bring food to their table, how to sustain their families, how to provide education to their children. And it happens that the economic activity they have in handy is mining, and it's artisanal small scale mining because, again, these are very small communities. So we can tell them, don't do mining, do something else, because this is really big on carbon footprint. Or we can support them into doing it in the best way possible with less carbon emissions, of course, with less environmental impact, but we cannot disengage from them because that is sustainable development, supporting them into making a better reality for them and for their context. So Again, recycled gold is still good, as you said, Marty. Like it has been mined already. Should we use it? Yeah, we don't leave it just sit it there. But are you saying that you are sustainable because of that, or are you saying that you're sustainable because you're supporting community? So that is our invitation. That do both and start thinking of how to balance those approaches. So Henry says, I am a retailer in London and would like to find out if my customers and potential customers will be accepting to traceability of gold. I hope they do. I think they will. How would you suggest me to do this? What kind of survey should I conduct? Can I charge a premium? Oh, let's connect. Send us an email and we can think of ways how retailers will also support this initiative. We are thinking of not only talking directly to the brands, but also to the consumers. So this is more than a trend, something that is a reality. And how can we create marketing campaigns, communication campaigns that will educate the consumers on the importance of traceability? Because I know the struggle is real. Maybe you are super committed, but if your consumers are not educated, then it is an extra work. We understand that. So that's why we are we want to work together to everyone within the Fairmined initiative on how we can do these type of things like market researches or marketing campaigns. So please get in contact with us and let's brainstorm on how we can do this. Oh, well, this is very similar. David Brown asked, should this demand be pushed by retailers or should it be marketed to consumers to ask for this? Well, I think both, in the sense that if you're a company and if you have your values and responsibility and you want sustainability, then it all can start with your own commitment to this and educating the consumers to do that. And there are brands that are actually doing it, that they said, like, I am doing this because this is what I believe in, this is something that I want to do, and this is something on the value proposition of my brand. So I am sharing my value proposition to the consumers, and I will match with the consumers that are already asking it. And at the same time, we as an industry, I believe, have a responsibility to educate the consumers as well. So that's why we are doing more webinars like this, and we are going to more events like this, and hopefully more and more people writing about this or making films about this get more engaged into this initiative so consumers will be educated. Nicole, you please tell me with the timing, how many questions can we answer? So how much time do we have left?
Definitely, I think we have some time, so I think a few more questions is all right.
All right. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So do you also work with artisanal gemstone miners and have a list of providers? We'd love to. So the Alliance for Responsible Mining started after, or it evolved from an initiative called Oro Verde, or Green Gold, here in Colombia. Because here, the mining operations is more related to gold and associated metals or emeralds. So we've been focusing on gold a lot, and sometimes when they extract the gold, they can also find silver or platinum, maybe. So it's a step by step. We're focusing on that right now, but we can, we would think like in the future, hopefully to work with mining operations dedicated to gemstones. However, thanks to this amazing industry, there are some links together. So if you send an email to info@fairmined.org with your question of how to get responsibly sourced gemstones, probably it wouldn't be through Fairmined, but we can help you like with some literature or some links where you can find it. So we always like to recommend Moyo Gems, that it was supported by Pact. And there's also in London, there's this collective called For Luxury. We love them, and they also promote ethically sourced of gemstones. So send us an email anyway. Maybe it wouldn't be with us, but we will happy to recommend our friends. How can customers verify the traceability of the gold? So that's the beauty of becoming a license or having a certification. So an assurance label that it is substantiating your claim. So let's say that you're a jewelry brand and you signed an agreement with us, meaning that you obtained the license. Then you also have to comply with the standard, meaning that you need to report your purchases of gold within our assurance system, which is called Fairmined Connect. So everyone on the supply chain reports the trades of the gold, and they have to upload the invoice, and they have to upload how much was the quantity and how much it was, and everyone should do that, including the miners, including the suppliers. And also, you are subject to audit by a third-party auditor or a small report that depends on the quantities you source. So that audit or those reports are the ones like saying that keeping you with the license. But the fact that you're already licensed should give confidence to your consumers that your gold is coming with traceability. Also, the gold you use on your final creation, your ring, a ring made with Fairmined gold, for example, could have the Fairmined stamp, or you can attach a certificate of authenticity that we can provide. So we can work together on how you express that and how you communicate that story. So we have, does Fairmined gold involve the use of mercury? So when we say involving the use of mercury, then we think it's not realistic to say 100% you need to stop using mercury right now, and then you will have a certification. It is also a progressive effort. So one thing is saying you're using mercury and you're not protecting yourself from the usage of that. Or one thing is saying that you are using a bit of mercury, but you're wearing a mask, you are wearing gloves, you know how to handle it, and you're not just like throwing away to the river after you use it. No, you know how to use it and you have like an environmental plan. However, sometimes they don't have the technology to transform completely their activity, and mercury sometimes is necessary to separate the minerals. But then there are some other technologies they can use for that, and they need resources for that. So all Fairmined certified communities have to have at least a mercury reduction plan. But I'm happy to say that most of them, they were able to eliminate mercury from their operations. And yeah, and there's also the Fairmined ecological standard that says no mercury and no cyanide, and that they are able to sustain that through the years. So I think it's hard for retail shops. We have many suppliers. We don't know our gold from where it come from. What do you think about it? Well, ask your supplier. Ask your supplier if they know the origin, and it is a hard question to ask. But if they're not able to say it, then what certifications do they have? So are they certified maybe RJC? Are they certified SES? Are they with the Fairmined initiative, for example? So, and then start digging more into that. So it's not an easy question to ask or to answer, but I think more and more suppliers, they need to be compliant, if not saying the first origin of the gold, at least looking for certifications or standards that they can say to their clients, okay, I am doing, or I am in a path of becoming more and more responsible or more and more ethical. So yeah, choose your suppliers wisely. Pollution of mercury in Amazon, in tons of mercury going every year in the ocean. This is a reported fact. A reported fact, yes, 100%. The Alliance for Responsible Mining is working also with the Amazon Aid Foundation to see how mining operations in the Amazon can know how to not throw the mercury to the rivers, or stop using mercury completely. So again, this is a job that is not just telling them, the communities there in the ground, stop using them, stop using mercury. It is something that we need to educate them and letting them know how to handle it without endangering the rivers. And of course, the final goal is that they stop using mercury. But the Amazon situation, it is 100% true and critical. All right, I think we're all set with the questions to be able to answer. Nicole.
Yes, hi, Jonathan.
Hi.
So yeah, I think we still actually have some questions coming in, but I think with time constraint also.
They're coming more and more. Yeah.
Yeah. If you want, we can answer one question, or then we can wrap it up also.
Yeah. So let's see. I'm just like looking to find. Yeah, there you go. Last one. Is there any new technology or hallmark can tell us that gold from where? Yeah. So I mean, there are different efforts in the industry. Us, for example, we're a nonprofit that wanted to create a standard and then an assurance system and reportings. But there are also some other new technology and entrepreneurs that want to go further and mark or trace. So there's one called Tracemark in Spain. That's the one that comes to my mind right now. But like those are several entrepreneurial projects on how to do this, like, to hallmark and then to trace all the way to the origin. There's blockchain. There are a lot of initiatives in terms of traceability. Some of them expensive. Some of them is like, okay, but who's paying for that? Is that the brand? Is that the refinery? Is that the mining organization? Is that the nonprofit that is trying to do their best to work with them? So what we have currently in place is an assurance system in which it's a platform that all members of the Fairmined initiative report their trade and their transactions. But yeah, I do think that is the future, to collaborate with these technology makers to make traceability even more and more thorough. All right. Sandro, can you provide me more info? Yes, of course, Sandro. Just getting your email right there. However, you can always write to info@fairmined.org, and you'll get answers there as well. All right. So once again, thank you so much, all of you, for joining and for listening to this beautiful story. Nicole, how did it go? How did I do?
Thank you so much, Jonathan, for such an insightful session. And I think we had quite an active audience, and it was a very, very interesting session. So thank you. And if anyone does have any other questions, they can always email it to us at info@gematlas.com, and we will also forward the same to Jonathan. So thank you so much, and have a great day.
Thank you.